All right, let's go to Mike in Buffalo. Hello, Mike.
Hi. Why would they have made up the story about Christ rising from the dead 2,000 years ago, and it still stands today?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? There are so many stories, for example, about Elvis Presley. There are stories about the cargo
Elvis Presley's 20 years ago. We're talking about 2,000 years ago.
Exactly my point.
A guy born in a...
Exactly my point.
Well, a guy born in a manger. You're talking about intellectuals. Why not Galileo? Why not Julius Caesar? Why not Zeus? Why not all them other intellectuals? Why haven't they gone through the test of time?
Yeah, why not all them other intellectuals?
Right? Why haven't any of them been anointed to be the Son of God? And it still stands today, and he was born in a manger. Explain that.
Look, the point I was trying to make about Elvis Presley is that he was only dead 20 years ago, whatever it was, and yet even so, there are already myths growing up about him being seen somewhere.
That he's alive.
That he's alive.
And living with Jim Morrison.
Why was the calendar A.D. after death and before Christ? Why isn't anybody else have the calendar?
Well, it's not. It's actually Anno Domini, but never mind that.
Goofy words. All right, you're not being intellectual.
It says "E pluribus unum" on our money. Is that goofy too?
Jesus wasn't very much of an intellectual. He was born in a manger. And if he wasn't born at a virgin birth, then they're lying. Why would they have lied about it?
You think his mother was a virgin?
Let me just tell you.
Why would they have lied about everything?
Jesus was not born in a manger. There's no evidence he was born in a manger.
In a stable. Why would they lie about all that?
And as for the virgin birth, that is a mistranslation from Isaiah, from the Hebrew of Isaiah into the Greek of Matthew. Yeah, it said, "A young woman shall conceive and bear a son," and in Matthew it says that all these things were done in order that it should be fulfilled, as the words spoken by the prophet.
Do you think they had a master plan to make all that up so now we can control the government?
No, not so you could control the government. Not so you could control the government.
How would they have known that?
The New Testament authors wanted Old Testament prophecies to be fulfilled. They wrote the New Testament in such a way as to make it look as though Old Testament...
So we would all be conspiring for Jesus at this present time? That's what the apostles were doing?
They weren't interested in the present time. They were interested in their own time.
Exactly, and it still stands the test of time.
Well, let me get to the heart of this gentleman's question, which is, how has this been able to sustain itself for all these years?
Well, something had to sustain itself, and that did. I mean, plenty of other religions died, and this one didn't.
Thank you very much.
That was a clip from an interview between Richard Dawkins and a guy named Alan Combs, who was doing the interviewing. He worked for Fox News. But he's a liberal. But anyway, that caller was a complete moron. Basically, he asked, why is Christianity so popular if it's fake? If we were to assume that it's fake, why is it so popular? Which is kind of a dumb question because the answer is so obvious. It has nothing to... he's trying to insinuate that Christianity is true because it's so popular. Because it's so widespread around the world, it has to be true. It has nothing to do with it being true. It has to do with history. Now you have to remember, Christianity is not a European religion. It's a Middle Eastern religion. European religions would be like the Roman religion, the ancient Roman religion, which is Roman mythology, Jupiter, Saturn, etc. And, Greek religion, ancient Greek mythology, like Zeus, things like that. But those are extinct. Christianity came from the Middle East, and it was persecuted because at the time it was a cult. It was a small, cohesive religious organization that was outside the mainstream religion, and it was persecuted, but eventually it grew in popularity and numbers. It only stopped being persecuted with a guy named Constantine. And the reason why he stopped it was because he became Christian. And he is pretty much the defining point, the turning point in everything. If it weren't for him, Christianity would probably have died out. He became Christian, and then he stopped the persecutions, and he legitimized Christianity. And of course, when the emperor is Christian, Christianity is going to become more popular within the empire, and then this spread to the rest of Europe. And then after the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe was plunged into the Dark Ages, but Christianity remained. And then, after the Dark Ages, Europe really sped up in their technological progress and their influence in the world. They advanced more than other countries, other nations, much, much faster. And it was during this time, after, like, let's say around the 1500s, that they started to expand all around the world, colonizing and pursuing imperial pursuits. And they brought their religion with them. They brought Christianity with them, and they colonized the Americas, they colonized Africa, they colonized Australia, they colonized Asia. And they colonized everywhere they went, and they brought Christianity with them, obviously, and they forced Christianity on indigenous populations. And that's pretty much how it happened. They were the force to be reckoned with, the most dominant force at the time, and that's how Christianity took hold. It really has nothing to do with it being true. It has to do with the fact that they were more powerful than everybody else, and they just subjugated the indigenous populations and either replaced them themselves, as in the case of America or Australia, or forced their religion on people who they sometimes raped. You know, like in the South America, it was mostly white males, single males, who would come to these countries, and they were encouraged to breed among the indigenous population and create their families there. And whether they created families or not is debatable, but they definitely had sex. And when they did, who were they having sex with? They were having sex with women. And women, unfortunately, were more submissive. I mean, they were on the receiving end, so they were forced to accept the beliefs of the person who was raping them. In this case, Catholicism. If you were ever wondering why Hispanics, they're all Catholic, almost all of them are Catholic, it's because of that. Because the Spanish were Catholic, because of the Inquisition. So they forced Catholicism on the indigenous populations there. So that's why. In North America, whites brought their wives with them, and they bred with their wives. That's why you see more European, I don't want to say pure whites in America, because that's still not true, but you know, like we have this definition of Hispanic and white, and we say that there's a difference, because Hispanic would be like a mix between Spanish people from Europe and Native Americans from the Americas, whereas white would be predominantly European. So in North America, it was mostly practicing Christianity amongst themselves, but of course they did force Christianity on African slaves, and that's why African Americans are mostly Christian. So it has nothing to do with what this caller was trying to insinuate. What a ridiculous insinuation. And we also have to keep in mind that most people are willing to obey authority, and you can look at the Milgram experiment for that one. I won't get too into that one because I'm running out of time here, but basically, people are willing to obey authority. And when you're a child, you're going to believe whatever your parents tell you. You're going to conform to society. And the society right now is just believing in God. It has nothing to do with it being true, or, you know, like, it has to do with the fact that people aren't questioning authority. They're not questioning what they're told. They're not demanding evidence. And that's a sad thing. Anyway, thanks for watching.